Baruchim haba and welcome everyone. It is a real honor for me to have this opportunity to share with you Divrei Torah, and I want to thank the Halacha workshop for hosting me and for having so many available classes and shiurim l'kavod Chag HaPesach haba aleinu l'tova, and especially for giving me the opportunity to feature the new Haggadah that I had the privilege to put out, published by ArtScroll, Haggadah shel Pesach Maggid Harakiah, published in English. And I would like to share with you some amazing nuggets on the Haggadah shel Pesach, which is everyone's favorite sefer. And Be'ezus Hashem, I hope this will really enhance and give new meaning to your understanding and appreciation for the Haggadah. There's so many Haggadahs out there. Kulam ahuvim, they're all wonderful. I would like to present to you some insights to gain a perspective on the structure and the outline of the Haggadah shel Pesach. Let's study the word Haggadah. Where does the word Haggadah come from? Actually, very interestingly, there's an amazing sefer called Sefer HaTishbi. Sefer HaTishbi was written by Rabbi Eliyahu Bachor, who wrote somewhat of a dictionary of words in Lashon HaKodesh. Actually, I just had the privilege to be at his kever in Italy. It's on an island off of Venice called Lido Island. It's a very important sefer. Rabbi Yaakov Emden, as well as the Pri Megadim, wrote notes on this sefer. And he says the word Haggadah actually comes from the most oft repeated pasuk in the Haggadah, namely, V'higadata lebincha b'yom hahu leimar. This is such a commonly quoted pasuk in the Haggadah. We invoke it when we speak about the Rasha. We invoke it for the She'ena Yedei Lishol. We invoke it in the passage of Yachal Me'Rosh Chodesh, as well as in B'chol Dar Vadar. We say, V'higadata lebincha b'yom hahu leimar ba'avor zeh asa Hashem li b'tzeisi Mitzrayim. It comes from the word V'higadata. Actually, I saw in the Haggadah of Shimon Schwab that this pasuk, V'higadata lebincha, actually creates the very outline of the Haggadah itself. Namely, what is the outline of the Haggadah? We start with Manishtana. We have Yachal Me'Rosh Chodesh, Mitchila Ovdei Avodah Zarah. We have the reasonings of the mitzvahs given by Rabbi Gamliel. We have B'chol Dar Vadar, Chayav Adam L'Oros Es Atzmai, and we have Hallel. Well, says Reb Schwab, in the name of his father, the outline of the Haggadah actually emanates from this very pasuk. V'higadata lebencha, you'll tell your children, that's Manishtana, when they ask, you'll tell them Avodim Hayinu. B'yom hahu, on that day, Yachal Me'Rosh Chodesh, Talmud Loimer, B'yom hahu. Leimar, to say the whole story, Mitchila Ovdei Avodah Zarah. Ba'avor zeh, you point to the mitzvahs and you explain their reason. These are the rationale of Ram Gamliel. Asa Hashem li b'chol dar vadar chayiv adam l'oros es atzmai ki'iluhu yatzah mitzrayim. And then finally, B'tzeisi mitzrayim is a reference to Hallel, where we say B'tzeis Yisrael mitzrayim. So this gives insight into why we constantly invoke the pasuk of V'higadata lebencha b'yom hahu leimar as the very structure of the Haggadah comes from this pasuk, and even the word Haggadah, as the Sefer HaTishbi says, comes from the word V'higadata lebencha. Just to share with you, as a side point, even the number of words in the Haggadah are significant. Did you ever stop and think and maybe count how many words in the Haggadah shel Pesach? This document, our handbook, the night of the Seder, is there a specific number of words? Indeed, there are. I have a sefer, it's called Ahavas HaTorah, by Rav Pinchas Ish Horowitz. And there he says he counted the number of words in the Haggadah from the very beginning, Halach Ma'anya, until Goal Yisrael. There are 1,820 words in the Haggadah. Okay, what are you going to do with that? Amazingly, he says that there are also 1,820 mentions of the name of Hashem, Yud Kei Vav Kei, in the Chamishei Chumshei Torah. What could be the connection between the number of words in the Haggadah and the number of times Hashem's name is mentioned in Chamishei Chumshei Torah? Well, the connection should be somewhat clear and quite compelling. Namely, Paroi believed in Elohim. he was taught the name Elohim by Yosef. When Paro had dreams that he didn't know what the interpretation was, and he asked Yosef, Yosef says, Biladai, Elohim ya'aneh eshalayim Paro. Elohim will explain and interpret your dreams. And Paro even said, Hanimsa kazeh ish asher ruach Elohim bai. But when it came to Yud Kei Vav Kei, Havaya, mi Hashem asher eshma b'koilai. You see, Elohim represents nature. Elohim is gematria, hateva. Yud Kei Vav Kei denotes Hashem's ability to override and transcend and overcome the forces of nature. Paro believed in Teva, Elohim. He did not believe in Hashem. Therefore, the function of the Haggadah is to establish and declare and proclaim the power of the Shem Havaya. Hence, we can explain, there are the same number of words in the Haggadah as the number of times the Shem Havaya appears in Chamisha Chumshei Torah. It's really remarkable. Now let's study the bookends of the Haggadah. We begin with the phrase, Lashana Haba B'Yerushalayim. We say, basically, at the end of Halach Ma'anya, Hashata Hacha, Lashana Haba Ba'arad Yisrael. And the Haggadah ends, Lashana Haba B'Yerushalayim. Now that's perhaps rather odd. Why would the Haggadah begin and end that way? Not that there's anything wrong with always wishing Lashana Haba B'Yerushalayim, but it's not like when we start the Siddur in the morning, we say Lashana Haba B'Yerushalayim, Atoivo Elecha Yaakov, and then we finish the Yom and say Lashana Haba. After all, there's a principle in life and in Torah that the way something begins and ends usually reflects on the essence of the content. For example, the Gemara in Saita says, the Torah begins with Hashem's chesed of clothing Adam and Chava. It concludes, it ends with Hashem's chesed of burying Moshe Rabbeinu. From here we see the Torah is kulei chesed, it's entirely chesed. So applying this procedure to the Haggadah, would you say that the content of the Haggadah is well reflected by its bookends, Lashana Haba B'Yerushalayim? The Haggadah is not about Lashana Haba B'Yerushalayim. Isn't it about the Exodus? It's about Yetziyas Mitzrayim. It's about all the events that happened 3,300 years ago. But what's amazing is that if you look in the writings of Rabbeinu B'Chaye, I found that he discusses this in at least 6 places. There's a general principle, and that is Ki meid seischa me'aretz Mitzrayim areno neflais. The manner with which Hashem took us out of Egypt is the paradigm and the pre-enactment to how He will ultimately redeem the Jewish people. In other words, Yetziyas Mitzrayim was the dress rehearsal, the Masei Avos Siman Labanim, to the Gulo Hasida. Hence, indeed, everything we're saying in the Haggadah is not about ancient history. We're speaking about the past in order to await and yearn for the great destiny. It's not history. It's destiny. We have to tell our children, this is not about ancient events. This is what we anticipate and we believe will happen in the future. Hence, the bookends of the Haggadah perfectly, appropriately reflect the content of the Haggadah. Namely, the content of the Haggadah is all about Lashana Haba Ba'ara the Yisrael, Lashana Haba B'Yerushalayim. Let's come back to that beautiful word Haggadah, which we said the Sefer HaTishbi learns is rooted in the word V'higada talabencha b'yem ha'oleimar. I want to share with you a famous question, a question you all know, and I would like to offer 3 innovative, novel, and yet simple answers to this well-known question. This is the question of Reb Chaim Brisker. It's quoted in the Haggadah Shel Pesach Mi Beis Brisk, in the Sefer Emek Habracha of Reb Aryeh Pomeranchik, a Talmud of the Brisker Rav, and that is, there is a mitzvah every night of the year of Zechiras Yetziyas Mitzrayim. What then is unique and special about the mitzvah of Sipur Yetziyas Mitzrayim, the night of the Seder? But perhaps even more difficult is the Haggadah begins Mesaprim Yetziyas Mitzrayim Ba'leilos. Amar Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah, Harei ani kven shivim shana. The Haggadah begins with the mitzvah to relate the events of Yetziyas Mitzrayim nightly. That is the very worst way to begin a Haggadah. Imagine we've been preparing for months for this night, and we start off the night by saying, you know what? Really, we do this every night. There's nothing special about tonight. So the question is twofold. What indeed is unique about Sipur more than the nightly Zechira? And why begin the Haggadah with the nightly Zechira? Well, it says the Brisker Rav, in the name of Reb Chaim Brisker, that there are three distinctions that make that makes the mitzvah of Sipur Yetziyas Mitzrayim, the night of the Seder, special. Number one, it has to be in a question and answer format. Number two, every other night of the year, it's enough just to state the fact God took us out of Egypt. The night of Yetziyas Mitzrayim, we have to tell the whole story from beginning to end in all the gory details. Mitchila Ovdei Avodah Zarah. And finally, the night of the Seder, it is imperative not just to say the facts, we have to explain the reasons for the mitzvahs. Says Reb Chaim, this is the very structure of the Haggadah. We start by Manishtana Avodah Mayinu, question and answer. We then move on to Metchila Ovdei Avodah Zarah, where we tell the whole story from beginning to end, Maschel B'Gnusam Masayim B'Shvach. And then we conclude by saying the reason for the mitzvahs from Gamliel Haya Omer. Says the Emek Bracha, that's why we begin the Haggadah. Really, we say and remember Yetziyas Mitzrayim nightly. So the implicit question is, so what are we doing tonight different than any other night? And the answer is the very structure of the Haggadah. Namely, Manishtana, Mitchila Ovdei Avodah Zarah, and Ram Gamliel Haya Omer. Question and answer, Maschel B'Gnusam Masayim B'Shvach, and the Tamei HaMitzvahs. Friends, I would like to share with you three very simple approaches to answer this well-known question of Reb Chaim. The first one I would like to share with you comes from a pasuk in Parshas Kisavai. It says, "Uvasa el hakohen asher yeh bayomim hahem ve'amarta elav higadati hayom." Ooh, higadati. That's a very similar word to the Haggadah. If we could define the word higadati, we may arrive at a new understanding of the word Haggadah. Indeed, if you look at Targum Yonasan ben Uziel, Targum Yonasan ben Uziel translates the word higadati as oidinan. We thank you, I thank you, I thank you. This gives insight into why the Parsha of Mikra Bikurim is such an integral part of the Leil Seder. Why are we saying what a farmer who goes up to Eretz Yisrael to bring his first fruits, why are we saying the night of the Seder the way he recounts all the events of the Exodus? Wouldn't it make sense to expound rather psukim about Yetziyas Mitzrayim itself and Sefer Shemais? Why go to the Parsha Mikra Bikurim? You know, the Ar Sameach says, because matzah is called lechem oini, and the Parsha Mikra Bikurim is referred to as ve'anisa ve'amarta, aniya. But we are learning, perhaps, there's another dimension of why the Parsha Mikra Bikurim is so essential to the night of the Seder, because the word Haggadah means ve'oidinon, thanks. And we know the Parsha Mikra Bikurim is the quintessential passage of gratitude to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, as Rashi says, ve'anisa ve'amarta shaloi tehei kafoi toiva. So you should not be an ingrate. In fact, I found Matzasi Esha Ahava Nafshi. I found that Avudraham writes that the word Haggadah means Haida, like the Targum says on the pasuk Higadati ve'oidinan. Perhaps this would answer Reb Chaim's question. How is the mitzvah of Sipur Yetziyas Mitzrayim, the night of the Seder, different than any other night? Every other night we have to tell the story, state the facts. The night of the Seder is an expression of overwhelming gratitude. Where does that come from? It comes from the very word Haggadah itself. I want to share with you another novel and yet simple interpretation of the word Haggadah. You know, Targum Unklos, on the word Vayaged, he translates it V'yechavi. V'yechavi means you should show. The Shem Mishmuel in his Haggadah, he brings from his father, the Avnei Nezer, that from here we see the definition of the word Haggadah. Haggadah doesn't mean to speak, it doesn't mean to relate, it doesn't mean to say, it doesn't mean to declare. It means V'chavi, to demonstrate, to point, meaning the night of the Seder, our giving over of the events of Yetziyas Mitzrayim needs to be so vivid, so powerful, so illustrative, that it's as if we're pointing and we're saying, we are leaving tonight. We could see the Mitzrayim chasing us. We could see the sea splitting. We're experiencing it. We're not saying it. The Haggadah Shel Pesach is not an exercise in recitation. It's not like saying Tehillim, okay, let me read each word carefully with every milel, milra, shvana, shvanach. No, it's not a mitzvah of recitation. It's a mitzvah of demonstration. So we've arrived at another unique feature of the night of the Seder. Every night of the year, we have to just state the facts that Hashem took us out of Mitzrayim. The night of the Seder, we don't say it, we demonstrate it. So Targum Yonasan ben Uziel translates Haggadah as the oidinon, thanking. That's the unique feature of Haggadah. Targum Onkelos would translate usachavi, demonstration. And now for the grand finale. Another interpretation of the word Haggadah, and this is going to come from a very exotic source, Rashi himself. Rashi, who the Shita Mekubetzes calls Avihen v'Rabban Shel Yisrael, the father and the Rebbe and the teacher of the Jewish people. I looked up Rashi in Parshas Boy, who talks about the pasuk V'higata to Lebincha, and actually Rashi does not translate the word V'higata to Lebincha on that pasuk, but on the pasuk before Perak Yud Gimel, pasuk Zayin, Rashi says V'higata to Lebincha Melamedcha Shetiftach Lo'ata B'divrei Agada. You should open up for your son with Agadic teaching, Hamoishchenes Halev, that draws the heart. And I'll tell you, I've seen this Rashi many, many times, and the meaning didn't jump out at me until I decided, I'm going to learn Rashi with a pen, meaning I'm going to hold a pen when I learn Rashi, so if I have any insights, I'm going to jot it down. And it revolutionized my appreciation for the words of Rashi. Rashi is redefining the word Haggadah. Shetiftach Lo'ata, you should open up for him. B'divrei Agada, with Agadic teaching, Hamoishchenes Halev, that pulls the heart. The word Agada means to draw, like in the word good achis, good asik. For example, you have a wall, it doesn't go all the way up or it doesn't go all the way down. There's a Talmudic principle that you could extend the wall up, you could draw the wall down. Haggadah is a lashon of drawing, meaning the night of the Seder, the mitzvah is not to say, it's not to relate, it's not to recite, it's not to declare, it's to draw the heart of your children. This would be yet a third answer to Reb Chaim's question. Every other night of the year, just say the fact that God took us out of Egypt. The night of the Seder, you have to figure out how to tug and pull on the drawstrings of your children's heart. Shetiftach Lo'ata B'divrei Agada Hamoishchenes Halev. So we've arrived at a new definition of Haggadah, to draw. Who does this come from? The very father and Rebbe of the Jewish people, Rashi. So according to the different Targumim and Rashi, we've come to three new definitions of the word Haggadah. Either Targum Yonasan ben Uziel, the oidinon, gratitude. Targum Onkelos, demonstration, usachave. Rashi, divrei Agada, hamoishchenes halev. Certainly Reb Chaim was aware of all of these three approaches. Reb Chaim was perhaps just looking for the halachic parameters of the difference. And the halachic difference is, it has to be question and answer, it has to be all the details, and you have to explain the reason for the mitzvahs. Perhaps these three ways ensure that your recitation of the Haggadah is a form of gratitude, a proper expression of gratitude, a proper and full demonstration, and a manner with which we draw the hearts of our children. Just to conclude, last year I got a new Haggadah. It's called Zechira L'Chaim, a Reb Chaim Falaji. And I noticed by each passage of the Haggadah, he numbers it. Starting with Halach Ma'anya, finally arriving at the number 50 by Ga'al Yisrael. And amazingly, he says, based on Rabbi Yoach Cohen of Izmir and the Tikkunei Zohar, that the Yetziyas Mitzrayim is mentioned 50 times in the Chumash to denote that had Hashem not taken us out of Mitzrayim, we'd have fallen to the Shar Nun, and Hashem extracted us from every level of Tumah to raise us up, to bring us close to Him. And the night of the Seder, we all experience this personal Geula where Hashem raises us up, so to speak, out of the abyss to V'avia Elai, to come close to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And Be'ezras Hashem, we hope to convey all of these important messages, especially that the events of Yetziyas Mitzrayim are a pre-enactment for the coming of the Geula. May this be an expression of true Haggadah, of gratitude to Hashem, of demonstration of what happened, and may we be able to draw the hearts of our children. All of these thoughts are found in this beautiful new Haggadah, Haggadah Shel Pesach Maggid Harakiah in English, published by ArtScroll. It's available on the ArtScroll site and in various better Sfarim stores everywhere. So I wish everyone a Chag Kosher v'Sameach. May we all be Zoicha to the Geula Shlema, B'bias Goel Tzedek. Thank you again to the Halacha workshop for hosting me. Shefa Bracha V'Hatzlacha, Chag Kosher v'Sameach, Agun Yom Tov.
Halacha workshop program aims to give the average person the tools and the ability to paskin for themselves many common recurring situations which arise in every home. Over years of answering shilas, I've observed that the average person will spend a lifetime asking very similar questions but never have the courage to decide for themselves what to do when faced with a practical case. But the truth is that many real-life situations are very easy for you to paskin by yourself if only you would know a few simple rules which govern that particular area of halacha.